Welcome back to the Top 6 show. It's Monday night. Hit the like button if you haven't done so already. Get it smashed. Make sure you're subscribing, and you can join the notification group chat. It's that big QR code over by Griggs' head. And we've got Jords and a few others joining us later on the show. We've got a brilliant panel for you tonight with Giuseppe, Griggs, Have Hope in the house. A man like Rack is here with us. Loads to talk about. Some crazy stories. Some crazy headlines about Ten Hag, which have to be called out whether you like him or not. We're talking England's performance. We're talking national anthems. We're talking celebrating goals. We're going to be touching on the Calafiori injury as well. But we have to start with the big breaking news. And this has come directly from the New York Times and The Athletic, that Chelsea Football Club's ownership is in crisis, and why Clearlake and Todd Bowley's marriage, the heart of Chelsea, this is your ownership, is at breaking point. We're going to delve into this in more details, and it does go on to say in their article, here's a snippet from it, sorry, I clicked on the wrong button, that it's in tatters. Bowley's approach is to hire experts and let them get on with it, whilst Clearlake, particularly Egbali, have taken a role in considered by Bowley as micromanaging. A source close to Bowley's side describes Egbali as being obsessed with player trading. On top of that, Sam Matterface has come out and stated that having been at the ground, he's noticed when he's in the tunnel that Egbali is quite high with energy. He will storm up and down the tunnel. He'll even get involved. And he will go past. And sometimes he'll even go into the dressing room. And I think this speaks to all those conversations that happened a year or so ago about the owners being in the dressing room and maybe picking teams. There are polls that are currently running on big Chelsea creators pages like Simon Phillips, asking which side of this argument Chelsea fans go with. I want to go to Have Hope first on this. The club's trying to progress. The club is trying to move forward after a couple of really barren years. No league title in the better part of a decade now. And the more that comes out of this story, you're really seeing sort of your owners and the people running your club pulling in opposite directions and now fighting this out publicly. What's your views and takes on this, my friend?
No, look, I think I'm not surprised. I mean, any Chelsea fan who is surprised, you're living in La La Land, because everyone knew that. Why is a club that speaks fluent UCL trying to build a glorified orphanage? That's what Chelsea were doing. Like in the last few years, they were trying to just build a glorified orphanage. I was like, this is literally DiCaprio FC. You're just getting youngsters off the streets and just put them into this damn squad. So now when you look at this news now break, of course it makes sense that Todd Bowley, aka Todd B, is trying to build like... I knew you'd do that. I knew you'd do that. I walked into that. So basically, Todd Bowley, he's trying to basically build like superstars, spend money. So this whole thing of buying these youngsters, flipping them for a profit, Ponzi scheme, guys who are 19 and under, that's Clearlake. Look at the history. Egbali and Clearlake, they don't have any sporting history. Hate Todd Bowley all you want. He has history with the Dodgers. He has history with the LA Sparks. Look at Egbali's, they're a private equity firm. They are banking merchants. So a bunch of banking merchants now giving full control over Chelsea. That's disastrous. So my thing is, now Todd Bowley says that he can find 2 bill under the pillow. Fine. But it's like, if he finds that 2 bill, I think these guys can find 3 or 4 because you're not dealing with a whole freaking consortium. But it's a mess. It's a complete mess. And like any Chelsea fan who tries to say that, oh, no, people are overbearing, why are people trying to make so much out of it? You're a clown. This is bad because you have a situation where the people are, the worst thing to have, you can hate all your owners in the world, but the worst thing to have is when your ownership are pulling in 2 different directions. So if I'm a player or I'm a manager, I'm like, huh? But now, you see, with this happening, I'm now connecting all of the pieces. So when Pochettino came in charge, he was like, this is Chelsea, we're about winning, and Chelsea are always been top. Then with each other press conference, he was changing his tune. I was like, wait. Why are you contradicting yourself? You said one thing at the start, now you're contradicting yourself. But now, Pochettino was obviously told one thing initially. Then as this relationship deteriorated, he was hearing one thing from one guy, one thing from another guy. And what Pochettino found was that, it's really Egbali that's really running things. Him and his consortium actually have 60% of the ownership. So even if I thought that Bowley was the guy that I thought was the direction that was going with, it's really Egbali who has a greater ownership. So the situation has to happen where who are fully the owners. These guys can't work together. It's obvious. Because you can obviously see that it's schizophrenia. It's schizophrenia FC. Because it's like you're buying these top stars for money, then you're buying these unknown stars. It doesn't make any sense. So, like, I would, if I had to choose, if you pointed a nuclear warhead to my head and I had to choose between Bowley and Clearlake, I'm choosing Bowley. Because he has a sporting background. I'm not leaving the responsibility of Chelsea to guys that have zero experience with regards to sports. The Glazers owned the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in '95. FSG, we know of their sporting history. Cronkies, the Denver Nuggets, and I think is it the Rams? I believe that with these Claire Ocean dudes, they're the only owners that have zero experience in owning a sporting franchise. Every other Premier League team, their owners have a history of owning a sporting franchise or an institution. These are the only guys that don't. So, like, look, it's bad. It's bad. Like, it's not good. But again, if I had to choose, yeah. But if it's between now, he's not going to come back. But I'm still rooting for Bram. But it is what it is. Putin tax. But the thing is that if the Sophie's choice is Bowley or Clearlake, Bowley.
A lot of Chelsea fans online seem to be siding that way as more news is coming out, if that makes sense, because it sounds now, and I feel yesterday got asked a question, who's leaking all of this? And I think it's both parties are leaking it. This is how it appears to me, and I don't want to throw this out to the panel. It feels to me as though Todd Bowley has got to a stage where he said enough is enough. We've all pumped money in. Yes, you own more, but we're not operating in the right way. I think our model is broken. I don't think we can become successful. And maybe after not landing Osimhen, and I know that Obi Mikel today has come out and said they were really close. It just wasn't enough time. But that's because they were lowballing for too long. If they'd have got to that better offer sooner, he would have been a player. It feels to me like Todd Bowley is kind of pushing out this news because essentially, although both sides are saying they don't want to sell, they're both briefing saying they don't want to sell. Of course, Clearlake are in a position of power because they're the majority shareholder, and you would expect that within the shareholder agreements, they have more control and power and say, and they might be able to force people out. However, I think what Bowley's doing is trying to show Chelsea fans that I have your interest and better interest at heart. Because if the fan base side with Bowley, it does make it very hard for Clearlake to continue because people know, people are not buying into what it is that they are doing. So, look, it isn't a great situation whatsoever. I understand exactly where you're coming from and why you're frustrated. From your point of view, Rack, looking at this, do you think it's going to have an impact on what we see on the pitch over the coming months with the heart of the football club? And we all now know how important the people that run your football club are. I think it's become so paramount and sort of obvious and protruding in the last decade. How badly do you think this could impact Chelsea Football Club overall?
Look, there's two sides of it. There's the direct side where you've got uncertainty in the boardroom filtering down to the players because there's not many layers between the playing staff and the top level management, and then indirectly through the fans. And the more this story gets blown up, the more rumors will start coming out, the more uncertainty there is. Inevitably, I think it's fair enough to say, I mean, Chelsea have got eyeballs on them already, considering how much money they've spent over the last few years. They're in a difficult situation already. The start has been okay. I think won one, drawn one, lost one. Could be better, could be worse. But all of a sudden, if on the pitch starts going a bit pear-shaped as well, a bit more, then I don't know how far we are off crisis. Look, maybe I'm being a bit overly dramatic about it and looking at as a rival kind of worst case scenario. And I also find it quite funny, to be fair. But at the same time, I think Chelsea fans have a right to be a little bit worried because you've said it before many times. You don't want to wash your dirty linen in public, And this is what's happening on the biggest scale. This is not just a football story. Like you said, New York Times, Bloomberg, some of the biggest financial publications in the world are covering this story now, because it's a global thing. These are big hitters, not just in Europe, not just in English football, but globally in the finance world. So it could, if it doesn't get resolved pretty quickly, because the worst thing you can have is if this drags on. Say it drags on like past January into next season, all that kind of stuff. Players coming in, players going out. What's going to happen? That uncertainty is not good at any level.
Well, it's certainly not, and you're right. I mean, who's going to win? I mean, they're offering people contracts in January, but what if that's an Igbali signing or Clear Lake's approach? But then Todd Boehly wins. What does that mean for those players in the last window or two that have been signed under this? And I don't think it matters to a great deal who wins the battle per se. I think there's merit in both their approaches, but it's until you get to that resolution, the problems could persist, Griggs. I mean, a lot of Chelsea fans are angry this is even being discussed. The abuse I've had in the last few days of talking about this subject has been like nothing else I've ever experienced in the social media world. But do you think Chelsea fans should be concerned, frustrated, and demanding a quick resolution to this situation? You're on mute, bro. Just to let you know.
Mute.
My bad. I was trying to say, you don't want both your owners to be like in a battle, stuff like that. I feel bad for Todd Boehly personally, because he kind of got made the face of this project early on, because he was like the first name really involved with the new ownership group and stuff like that, and they made him the face. So all of these bad signings, right, for the past couple of years, the 1.5 billion, like Half mentioned, the orphanage, all these 18-year-olds, they all blamed him. And then I always like kind of went with that kind of pattern, but then I realized, because you mentioned his other sporting franchises like the Dodgers, the Lakers, and the Sparks. When you compare the process at those clubs or teams and the way that they approach free agency and stuff like that, it's always been the stars. Obviously, LA is the city of angels. The stars, all the stars go there. You look at the LeBrons. You look at the Dodgers. They just spent $700 million on Shohei Ohtani, the best baseball player in the world. They had no problem forking out that kind of money. And then you look at Chelsea this summer. You look at Osimhen. They don't want to pay his wages. Olise, they don't want to pay up the wages for those kind of players, but they have no problem dishing out the 50 mil for Estevao or Kenji Paez, who are still 16, 17 years old. And then we listen to the quotes they pulled up. Igbali, he kind of feels like the guy at PSG, Nasser El Khelaïfi, the guy that like the way he storms into the micromanaging. And for me, that's a bad thing from Igbali, the micromanaging. And I feel bad for Todd Boehly, and I respect him for kind of coming out and not kind of saying, this is not this is not my approach. This guy, you guys made me the face of a project that's failed, and I'm not the face. It's this guy. He's the one. And I remember hearing from a couple of people I know that like are close to Chelsea. They said that Todd Boehly was never really. They're pointing the finger at the wrong guy. He got, and I guess maybe because he's like the American and stuff like that. And I like Terry probably mentioned and Half Hope. The previous American owners have a bad rep in Premier League football, rightfully so, like the Glazers and stuff like that. And Todd Boehly got involved with them, but when you compare what he's done, other than maybe FSG, because the Red Boston Sports have been successful, Todd Boehly is a successful guy. The Dodgers have been one of the best baseball teams in the past decade. The Lakers are still the Lakers. The Sparks, I think, had a good time as well with like some players. So I feel bad for him, and I think for the Chelsea, like we mentioned, how can it affect the footballing team? This is not a Chelsea team that has leaders that can kind of that can kind of steady the ship in this crisis. Because if you look at that team, the captain is Enzo Fernandez, who was involved in a scandal this past summer. You have Reece James, who's never on the pitch. You have Ben Chilwell, who's another vice captain, and he's isolated from the squad. So who's going to be the guy on that pitch to kind of, with all the noise around them, can steady the troops and be like, ignore the outside noise. Let's just focus on doing that. And they don't even have a coach. They don't even have like a coach, like at least during the Roman thing, right? Thomas Tuchel was in charge, and he's an experienced guy. So he was able to kind of take the brunt of it and leave the focus off the squad. You have a championship manager who has never been in this type of situation before. Half a year, 18 months ago, this guy was laying out the cones for Pep Guardiola. He's only
and also, so even add to that as well, this guy was in the Serie B with a geriatric Buffon with Parma. The guy's resume stinks, but we know why he was hired. But yeah.
Yeah, so I think it could get bad for Chelsea if it goes for a long period, but who knows? Like you mentioned, Bali and Clear Lake have a lot of power because they own a lot of the percentage, so they could easily they probably could raise a lot quicker money than Todd Bowley can.
Yeah, Giuseppe, the Clear Lake definitely have more money. They've got more of a majority, so they don't even have to raise as much money as Bowley would have to do. But what do you think, looking at this, reading what you've done as a rival, what do you think is best for Chelsea from this point? Because when we're asking the question, will it impact them on the football pitch? I think the answer is it already has over the last 2 years. Knowing what we now know, and this is the thing with, like, I always say this, but hindsight is lucrative. We now maybe know why they haven't been successful in the last 2 years, because you literally have the people running your club fighting and arguing. You have the lead face from Clear Lake in and out of the dressing room all the time. I don't know what he's quite doing in the dressing room, but what do you think is going to be best for Chelsea from this point? What should Chelsea fans be pushing for, in your opinion?
I think for now, Chelsea fans should maybe just wait and get a bit more information, because the thing is, the problem is right now, it's as that article said, it's kind of like civil war right now, right? And you got to know that both parties are going to be putting out whatever makes them look the best and make it look like it's all the other person's problem. It's probably both equally have issues in the club. There's probably issues from both sides that would probably need resolving, or one of them would have to leave. Now, who would be the better to leave? Right now, as a rival, I don't really know. People are siding with Bowley because Bowley right now, in the sense of what information has been put out, has made himself look like the more controlled guy. I know when they first started with all the signings, there was a lot of people saying that, I think it might have even been Thomas Tuchel himself that said Bowley was making me sign players that I didn't want to sign. Now, if he said it's Bowley, then maybe there's a thing in there that it's also Bowley as well as these guys. The thing of going in the dressing room, I don't understand that. I know they've been bad for the past 2 years, but I don't think an owner should ever really be stepping into a dressing room at a bad point. If it's going really good and he goes in and, come on boys, we've almost got it, the league's in our hands, saying like that, that's a bit different. That's a bit motivational. But if it's to go in there and like disrupt what's going on and probably undermine the manager as well. If an owner goes in, he's probably under the players might look at the manager going, well, like, this ain't even his dressing room right now because this owner is in here and it's his dressing room. For me, if I was Chelsea, I'd want it resolved as soon as possible, and just because that from the top to the bottom, Arsenal had similar issues. I don't want to always make it, but Arsenal, we had similar issues before, not with the same sort of civil war stuff, but before the Cronkies had full ownership, when they got full ownership, they started putting more money in, and they were like, listen, we didn't want to put money in, we didn't want to do this, we didn't want to do that, because we were sharing the business with people that we didn't really want to share the business with. And and the ownership affected the club so much to the point where all the fans were Cronky out, and it trickles down to the whole club. And it starts rotting the whole club, because if it's rotting from the core, then the rest is all going to be rotten. And I think that's kind of what's happened with Chelsea over the past few years. Decision making. We all knew there was problems at Chelsea. I'm sorry, you don't sign the abundance of players that they were signing in the summer if you've got a stable club, in my opinion. I know that Chelsea fans might love it every week. New guy, Felix, this. It's exciting. But when you really look at it, that's not a stable club. That's not a club that have gone, we know what we want, we know what we need, and this is the direction. This is a club that are directionless, and then they're seeing this, we'll get him. Even like some of them looks like it's just to buy, to sell, like it's a business, like you're owning a car boot sale and you're buying something from that stall to bring over to your stall and think, might get a few extra quid here. So I think if I'm Chelsea, I'd be a bit frustrated. And it's funny because like Chelsea fans, it must be hurting real bad, because Chelsea arguably had the best owner in the Premier League before this. Like for the club himself, not as a player whatever, but as an actual owner for a club, they arguably had one of the best owners, and now it's gone to this crap. So yeah, I think it's a bit. It's what happens. That's the only problem with like not having a one owner, because when people have this much money, they all get power hungry.
I was about to say, it is hurting a certain group of Chelsea fans a lot, and I think some have been very open and honest about this ownership for a couple of years, that it isn't good enough, it isn't working, the heart's been taken away, we don't like it. And you've seen Johnny Minerals like go to the lengths he has. You've got Rory Jennings, a different, them two total polar opposites as individuals, but they're both still gone for the ownership. And then you have others that are completely behind and completely backed it, who may now be feeling a bit sort of sorry for themselves. Maybe they're licking their wounds a little bit here and thinking, oh, Jesus, this doesn't sound good. And if we end up with Eghbali as the 100%, well, the Clear Lake as 100% owners, what does that mean for our future if we continue in this vein? Equally, the only way I see this going wrong and becoming totally rotten is if they can't come to a resolution. That's where this becomes really problematic, is if this battle goes on for the whole season, 2 seasons. This is something that needs to be resolved quickly, because where you're spot on, Giuseppe, is that there isn't an example that people can present to me of a team being very good consistently and challenging and winning where their ownership is poor and or it's battling and having wars.
No,
you need your ducks in a row. You need there to be harmony. You need there to be togetherness, and you need there to be a sense of one, so that you're all pulling in the same direction. And I know that most rival fans won't care, but I do care for the Chelsea supporters. And the reason I care for the Chelsea supporters is because I don't like to see football clubs run poorly in any capacity. What I understand, I mean, I've had one DM today was basically, I thought it was Will Smith. It was, Terry, keep my football club out your effing mouth. It was those words. I've seen people say to me, Terry, this isn't even news. Terry, we knew this was going on. Terry, this is just normal at most football clubs. Terry, why would you even want to have a discussion about this? That tells me what you've said, Giuseppe, that some of these Chelsea fans are hurting and they're in pain and they're worried. They're worried about the future of their football club, and I understand it. But what those Chelsea fans can do is stand up and be counted. They can push for information. There's so many ways you can get this resolved. First of all, I think you've got to try and get the truth out around which ownership is going to be better for you. And then as a fan base, you've got to try and unite and push towards that ownership winning. And then you want it resolved quickly. You don't want it dragging on for a year or 2 years, because it is most definitely going to stop. It's most definitely going to stop your progression, or at the very least, it's going to slow you down. It can't not. I don't think this can be going on and your football club, you'll win your next game back. I don't think you've got that hard. No, you're away at Bournemouth. Maybe not, but you might nick a result. No, what I mean is, though, it's not like they're not at home to Ipswich, right? Where you go, that's a win, right? Bournemouth away is a tough fixture in the modern day game. But even if you win the next few games, I wouldn't allow the results to paper over the problems internally, because if internal problems are there, they will eventually manifest themselves on the football pitch. We can't praise the running of Chelsea under Abramovich, the running of City in the last decade, and then ignore it when any of our clubs are not being run well. So Chelsea fans have got to stand up. I don't think they should bury this story. They should want everybody talking about it. The more public, it's out there now. You don't want to bury it. You don't want it to go quiet in the corner. You need this resolved quickly, and that means shining a light on it, in my humble opinion.
So,
go on, go.
So just real quick, because Sarah, you mentioned that there are positives for both. So what are the positives for if Clear Lake were to win this and got 100% ownership? What would the positives be for Chelsea?
So based on what I read yesterday, what Clear Lake want to do, and this is a very basic overview, is they want to continue buying the younger players. They want to keep developing in that way. They don't want to sort of go for the kind of superstar Galactico approach. Now, if you believe in that, so I'll give an example. Ches, who comes on, I use him as a case in point. Ches said to us, and Giuseppe will concur in the group chats, he totally believes in that model, which means looking at what we've learned, he's on Clear Lake's side. So if you believe in that, and I'm pointing it, or I'm trying to be balanced here and impartial. So if you believe in the model that's currently in play, then you would side with Eghbali. Now, maybe Ches has heard the stories about Eghbali storming into the dressing room. Maybe he's heard things in the last few days where he says, actually, I thought Bowley was running the majority of this and I want to go that way. I still think Bowley is the better mix. However, I think they should take parts of each other's plans here. I think that Bowley has to look at this and go, well, it's good to buy young up-and-coming players. You should also try and buy some real established stars.
That's basic.
What I don't think works, though, is what I've seen some Chelsea fans say, I want Bowley because he's going to go out and buy the superstars. I'm yet to see a club where buying Galacticos has worked in terms of getting the optimum best out of that team. So I think if Bowley's smart, because he's the majority shareholder and he's got to get more people on his side to win this, I think he has to look at what people like about Clear Lake's approach and adopt some of that, and temper what he's doing to make sure that it makes sense. If he stands there and says, I want to go and buy the best players in the world for Chelsea, some will go, yeah, shiny lights. Oh, this sounds amazing. But in reality, how likely is it that he's going to take the very best players away from certain clubs? And does the Galactico model work? So you've got to get it. I think there's pros and cons to each. I think Bowley would be the better option based on what we've heard so far. But some people, and I want to try and be impartial for Chelsea, there's some Chelsea fans like Egbali and what Clear Lake are trying to do, the likes of Ches, the likes of Don, as Giuseppe will probably account to in the group chat, very supportive of it. So I don't want to kind of alienate and ostracize those people as your way's wrong and won't work. They are adamant that they're on their way back to the top. I mean, they've predicted this season, Don has, with no major injuries, they could win the league. So you can't suddenly be against Clear Lake if you believe in the model. So I'm just trying to be impartial, really.
Look, one thing I will say, these guys, they're both businessmen. Long term, they're both in it for the money. So they will have a price. So as long as that price is met, one or the other will sell, because that's just the nature of business. So they'll both have a price, whoever's willing to pay the money. The downside for Bowley is not going to buy Clear Lake out completely himself. He brought Clear Lake in because he only wanted to be a minority shareholder and, I guess, guide the club managerially. So Bowley's going to be looking for an alternative to Clear Lake to come and join him. Now, again, what does that third party that we don't right now, we don't even know who he is. Apparently he's scouring financial markets trying to find partners. I presume they're going to want to follow Bowley's example or Bowley's strategy. But you could have a scenario where Bowley brings these people in just like he brought Clear Lake in, and then maybe a few years down the line, things, cracks start appearing, things don't go as well as advertised. At least if you go with Clear Lake are the majority shareholder, are probably the key decision makers at the moment. At least that's what's coming out. At least you have some stability there. If you go back to Bowley, he brings a third party in. Where's that third party going to want to go in maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years? There's more uncertainty there, I think.
I agree. So I'm just reading the message. I want to make sure that what I was reading was true. No, I agree. Halls Bleeds Reds here says all other clubs are run by multiple people, but there is a clear direction and a unified voice, not split faces of the ownership. And it's very true. You look at Man United have just bought in 20, I think it's 27.5% by Ineos, but it's set in stone, and the Glazers can do nothing about it. That the football operation is run by Ineos, and there's probably, and we're not privy to this information yet, agreements in place over a period of time where there's going to be opportunities in terms of scheduling to buy out more shares. That is typically what happens in those types of deals. What I would say about some of the other joint ownerships is, yes, it says it's a joint ownership, and I think that's just been ways to get certain owners into football clubs. I think in reality, one person is still calling the shots at the highest level. But I think what's really intriguing about Todd Bowley's approach is he wants to bring, again, very similar to what we've seen Ineos do, what we've seen FSG do. Right, we own the club. I don't know how to run a football club. I want to go out and get an amazing sporting director, an amazing footballing director, an amazing technical director, and I want to create a great board, and then I'm going to sit back and tell them what I want Chelsea to achieve, and they're going to put the plan in order with the expertise and understanding of how to make it happen. Ben's here, says, did anybody see David Ornstein's video on TalkSport saying the Chargers are now 130 for Manchester City? What is it? Oh, sorry, the Chargers now 130. Did he?
They're going to be, in a sense, look, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen to City.
I get that. Hang on. Let's go back. When did he say this? Did anyone see that?
No idea.
I ain't seen that. That would be trending news if they got another 15 charges. Come on now. If that's true, send me the link. I'm intrigued by it. I'm intrigued. By the way, people, I know that YouTube's playing up. It keeps like dropping off viewers and all this sort of stuff. So just stay with us. I don't know what it is. It's not a football terrace issue. It's a YouTube issue directly. So just keep hitting the like and the share button. We know what these pagans are like sometimes, especially when it comes to this time of the month. Just hit the like and share button. Bowley was the one that sacked Tuchel, gave Koulibaly, Aubameyang and Sterling 300k plus, spent 62 million on Cucurella, 70 million on injury-prone Fofana. He made big mistakes. What's your response to that, Have Hope?
Oh, no. Like, we see, because I actually had a conversation about this, like, previously. Don't be revisionist. Hindsight is 2020. Now, apart from the Cucurella, which is crazy, at the time when Chelsea got Aubameyang, Koulibaly, and Sterling, those were good signings at the time. The whole point of rolling the dice in the transfer market is that some will work, some won't work. Unfortunately, Koulibaly turned out to be a bomb. Aubameyang turned out to be like a semi-bomb. And for Sterling, now, let's be real about Sterling. Yes, he's not been the same since he missed from 1 yard out against Lyon for Man City. But Sterling has actually been one of the few consistent best attackers for Chelsea. And with him being gone, we don't even have any leaders now. Hate Sterling only once. He was literally the oldest, most senior member of this team. So my thing though is, yes, Bowley made mistakes, but I would rather roll the dice with Bowley's strategy than go and get some no-name kids from some random streets who I've never heard of. Like, so, I'm sorry, the orphanage strategy makes no sense, which is why we've been a freaking laughingstock. Because guys are like, you are ripping a child from their family every single week via Fabrizio. So it's like, yeah, it's true. So yeah, look, yes, Bowley made mistakes. Everyone makes freaking mistakes, man. But I'm still going to roll with the Bowley.
Do you know what I would say as well, though? There's one thing whoever gets your ownership's got to do is stop using Fabrizio for the signings of the innocuous kids. Let them get under the radar. Like Man United have done it a little bit this year, and I'm skeptical. We did it with Kone, and we did it with Obi. I think his name's Obi Martins from
Cheeto.
Yeah. But the talk is they're going to be involved now that all the comps are starting in our first team squad. If they are, then it kind of makes sense to announce them in that way. But if these two never kick a ball for us, I will condemn Man United for doing it. It's almost those types of signings don't need a fanfare. Just bring them in through the back door, let them crack on with their training. It's a strange thing.
No, seriously, Terry. When I read from Fabrizio, born in 2024, I just close down the window. Because I know if it's born in 2024, born this morning, I know it's a Chelsea signing. So I'm like, for Fabrizio, why are you doing this? Because I'm sure he's on Ekbali's payroll. Why are you announcing kids? You don't need to announce all of these signings that are being made. So, you know.
Someone has tagged me in this thing about 130 charges. There is a link on football.london to it, but I will read it later because I feel like it's one of those things I've got to really listen to, and I can't just do it while I'm streaming. It's going to be too difficult. Let's not forget Todd Bowley signed Enzo and Mihajlo Mudryk. But LM, see, yesterday it was revealed by a source that Mudryk was Egbali.
Yes, Mudryk was Egbali.
And this is why I think what Chelsea fans have got to do is say, right, maybe use AI to help you with this because it's going to take a lot of work manually. But I think you've got to start plugging these stories in and getting it to summarize what's going on, because I thought that was Todd Bowley. We all thought it was Todd Bowley. The stories are now telling us that they were more Egbali. So I think fans, again, before you make your mind up, before you stand with a camp, it's like I said earlier about Don and Ches, they were supportive of this in the summer. But it's absolutely fair that they might now read the reports in the Financial Times by Matt Law in The Athletic and say, actually, I'm not supportive of Clearlake and their model. I much prefer what Todd Bowley wants to do. So I think for me, it's about redoing your research, reading these stories, and gaining a bit more of an understanding in that way. By the way, Rahman, you're right. Everybody smash the like button. 1,000 likes on the video already, which is amazing. And there is more than 2,500 people watching. But every time we go up to a certain amount, it throws off like 400 viewers and keeps growing. So loads of you tuning in, which is amazing. So keep hitting the like and the share buttons for us as well. Okay, we'll come back to that one in a minute. Yes, you just tagged me in that video. I'll give it a read. Don has messaged in. Big up, Don, obviously one of our moderators and contributors, and says here, no major injuries and the right additions. Striker was necessary. He did say, this is where Don's a lawyer, because what he says, he's right. He isn't lying. He said, no major injuries and the right additions. Didn't, when he said that, specify. And we all said at the time, that way what you can do, you can reflect and go, well, we didn't get the right additions, did we? Hey, I like it, but we know he's very clever. He's very clever.
I'm sure at one point the right additions fell off and he weren't saying that anymore, and it was just the major injuries. And he said,
KJ, drag out that clip. Get that clip out, KJ.
Because
we want to see
Don
it.
can't turn around now and tell me that because they didn't sign Osherman that now it's not counting when they've got Felix and all these, man.
No, I hear you. Abraham here says, if Bowley solely owned Chelsea, they'd have Osimhen. Bowley's Dodgers is paying who?
Shohei Ohtani, baseball player.
He's the best.
There we go. Thank you. Over 100 million a year. That is crazy salary.
Yeah, I think he's the best paid sports person in the world, I think.
Yeah.
Ohtani.
He has a 7-year, 700 mil contract.
That's the only thing is you can't do that in football. That's the only thing. The wages, you can't just pay anyone any wages, and the amount of players they've got is the reason that they probably couldn't give him like higher wages because they've got too many players, so their wages.
Do you know what? Yeah, I mean, you can't quite compare the models. I only learned this about a year ago. I was listening to a podcast. So the way I don't know if it works this way in all of the American sports, but in baseball. See, the New York Yankees are the most famous, and their brand, their logo sells everywhere around the world. Baseball caps, everything. Every single piece of money they bring in through merchandise, that money is distributed across the whole league. So all the franchises earn money. So you can't even do what. See, where City have grown by like 2,000% in the last couple of decades or something. If they were in America, that growth would then just be given out to everybody. It's so strange. I always find American sport weird in the sense of. They are probably the most anti-communistic country in the world, but their sports are very communist. It's very like if you do well, we're going to take that away and give it to others. It's very interesting that the American attitude doesn't. Yeah, that the American attitude of life doesn't reflect the sport, and that's not a dig. I just find it very intriguing. But there we go. Yeah, there we go. We'll move on from that one there. Any other comments we're going to go to now? Profit sharing. Yeah, I hear you on that. Robin Hood, take from the rich and share with the poor. Yeah, I mean, if Robin Hood was real in this day and age, they'd probably call him a benefits cheat, wouldn't they? If he was around now, you know what I mean? They'd go at him. That's what we'd label him as. Don is so full of it every time he changes his tune. Yeah, and Roms knows. Roms, big up Roms who's tuning in. Don does. He covers he words everything very specifically so that he's got a get out, so that he's never wrong. We see you, Don. We see you.
Wait.
It's like he'll say this. He'll go. I think Mohamed Mudryk is faster, quicker, stronger, got better skill, a higher ceiling, better this, better that, better the other, better haircut than Martinelli. Oh, so you think he's better? I didn't say he was better. When did those words leave my mouth? It's great. It's funny. I love what he does.
Wait, Tarek. Is, Vivell, the sporting director guy, is he at Man United now?
Yes.
Yeah, he is.
So you stole our sporting director?
No, he already left.
No, he left.
What do you mean by he left? No, you stole him.
He left about a year. He left about a year ago. He left like a year ago from you guys, bruv.
So basically, you stole him.
Hang on, get closer.
Just like you stole at UCL in 2008. So
have hope. Get back. Get closer to your football club. How do you not know this? Take the glasses off and read some articles, bruv. Come on now. What's going on? Who owns the training ground? Totally, Chelsea Football Club owns the training ground. They haven't sold that. There was a rumor they had. But they haven't. What are we doing here? Last season, everyone said we needed a striker. Now it's not necessary. No, none of us think you're winning the league. None of us think that. No, Don, don't put words in our mouth. You didn't specify when you said we could win the league with no major injuries with the right additions that it needed to be a striker. You left it open-ended, but you did do what a lot of us in the group chat said you would, is that you would say that and then decide later on whether it was going to work, and just you could apply right additions to. You could have signed the striker. He could have been crap, and you'd have gone. We didn't get the right additions though. That's what.
But Terry. By the way, sorry, mate. To Don, if you want to use this, if Don wants to live or die on this hill of what he's just said, Don said Arsenal need a striker. So if we don't win the league this year, Don, you can't then say Arsenal should have won the league, bottle job this, bottle job that, because by your logic now, we haven't signed our striker that we need to win the league. So it's the same thing. You could do this.
No. Sorry. Arteta has come out and said that Nketiah is a new Thierry Henry by giving him the number 14 jersey. And he has said that we don't need a striker. So no, you bottled the league because that's what Arteta was about. We've always needed a striker. We all know that if we get a striker, we don't go down bold Catalonian Pep and we win this league. That's a fact.
So why did you sign 3-4 wingers and not a striker then?
How do I know? But no, I'm saying, what is this topic about? The very fact that we have ownership troubles. Arteta has stood on business by saying that, no, we are better than a striker. We believe in Saka, we believe in Nelly Furtado, and we believe in Odegaard to supply the goals to lead us to the league. But you flopped twice. Put it this way. If give us a striker, we will succeed where you failed. When was the last time you won the league? What year?
That got to do with the fact.
It's a simple question. When last time you won the league?
So obviously your team have looked at it and said Neto, Felix, and these guys bring them goals for you. Then not the striker, because you had the chance to sign. You've signed strikers, by the way, bruv. You signed like 2 strikers. It's just not the.
Nico Jackson's not a striker. Don't you dare call Nico Jackson a striker.
But you signed that Gayu. Yeah, you signed.
That's a pet project. That's part of our orphanage.
Yeah,
no. That doesn't count. That doesn't count. Look. No, the fact of the matter is that for Arsenal, because I actually do believe that if Arsenal sign a striker, they can realistically win the league. Arsenal have a 0% chance of winning the league with the squad they have. 0%. They have 0 chance. It's as simple as that. But obviously, based on Chelsea's team, we have a clinical finisher. League is done, 100%. Of course it's done. We win it, 100%.
This season?
Yes! A clinical striker. That's not called Nico Jackson. That's not the key thing.
100%, not like 50-50 or 75-20. Have hope with full 100%.
It's a team that has Felix, that has Cole P, that has Chris Koo, that has a team that has that amount of quality, creativity, technique, Salini, and Tata supplying with a finisher. It's done. It's done. Like, you can't rely on Arsenal and Liverpool to win the league. Manchester Divided are a complete joke of a club. So the only guys that can do this is Chelsea, but we just need a striker. So if you don't give us a striker, City are doing 5 in a row. Okay, simple as that.
So by your logic, if you give Arsenal that same clinical striker, do we 100% win the league?
I'll give you 76%. And the reason why I give you 76% is you lack the mentality. I can't give a team 100% when you've not won the league since 2004. The last time you won the league, the MC was not a thing. Obama wasn't even president back then.
I accept that.
Sorry,
who in your team? I was just going to say, who in your team has won the league at Chelsea? Not even your ownership has won the league at your club. So this mentality thing, who says your club has that mentality?
When you wear that badge, it infuses you with Fluence Trophy and Fluence UCL and Fluence Gid. The thing with us, look, here's the thing, and this is what I said to a girl last week. You don't even speak a basic UCL. Look, I like Arsenal. Most of my friends are Arsenal fans. So trust me, a lot of my friends are Arsenal fans, but I've got to keep it a stack. Because Terry said, have hope. If you come with the channel, don't you dare say anything less than a thou and keep it a stack. So I say, okay, Terry, I'm going to keep it a stack. Arsenal are very talented. 100% they are. They lack the character. And by how they flopped twice, they lack the true character that is needed to win the league. Of course, they've got the talent.
Can I ask you a question, Have Hope? When you
Yes,
say
sir.
like Chelsea getting this clinical striker,
Yes, sir.
who is that person? Have you got any specific examples of who you could sign to make you league champions this season? And
I like that Gyökeres kid, the Swedish kid from Sporting Lisbon. I do like him. So, is that, see, Osimhen, I'm a bit up on that. Hence why I wasn't really leading the whole Osimhen thing. But you give us Gyökeres kid who his goal to game ratio for Sporting Lisbon and Sweden is pretty damn good. Boom. Because Terry, I've done the math. We create a lot of chances, but we have a snowbody bomb called Nico Jackson who keeps missing all of these chances. You put a clinical finisher in the same position that Bozo Nico Jackson is in, we score more goals, we win more games, and we actually make it a proper tight race against City. So it's like...
So can I follow up with one more question?
Yes, sir.
Let's say we get to January the 1st, and you are 5 or less points off the top, and you sign Victor Gyökeres, do you think you would win the league?
Yes. Yes.
Does anybody else think they would win the league?
Viewers, we've got the clip from Don, what Don said when he thought they could win the league. We're going to see, I don't know what it says, I just got it sent through to me. Let's see the strike a bit.
Understand this. So if you get
similar injuries to last year, top four, if you keep the vast majority of your better players fit, you think you can challenge for the Premier League?
Yep, I do.
Hang on, what are we doing?
No way. This is what I'm talking about, Don, man. Come on.
Challenge doesn't mean win.
You got a new
Challenge does not mean
manager.
win. Challenge does not mean win, bro. Challenge does not
You're
mean win the
talking.
league.
No. Okay, so you expect Chelsea football.
So that was the clip that's out there. We'll get KJ to dig into it more to see whether he mentioned strikers later, but he didn't in the first bit. That was a clip that's doing around online, but he didn't say win it, to be fair. He said challenge. We'll be very careful here, but big up Don. We'll have him back on the show very, very soon. Indeed, have hope. I know you've got a drop, bro. Thank you for coming on for the Chelsea segment of the show. Really
Peace out, guys. Peace out, guys.
Thank you. And viewers, make sure you hit the like button and make sure you're subscribing. We've got Jords coming on the show a little bit later as well. This here says, not communist. It keeps the league and competition alive so that all continue to make a lot of revenue. Proven process. Nobody wants bad games. No, I understand that. Yeah, communism is probably the wrong word for it. I just kind of mean in most other parts of the states that I've been to, and I've got a lot of friends that are American, if you spoke about like sharing out their wealth, they go mental. I've done it as jokes before. I've like pushed a bit of socialism to them. I've tried telling my friends in America, oh, you guys should start your own kind of NHS. Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to watch the anger. And that's kind of why I do it, really, if I'm being honest with you. Wayne here says, I'm convinced that listening to HH speaks like he's smoking weed. You lose brain cells. The nonsense that oozes. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't think any Chelsea fans think if they sign Ugarte, they're winning the league this year. I mean, that is a massive take. It's a huge take from him. Why is this Chelsea fan thinks with feelings rather than facts? Well, he speaks in fluent UCL, so that's why we probably don't understand him. He's not speaking in English. He's speaking in fluent UCL. Big up the panel. This is from TM. He says, big up the panel today. Regards to Chelsea civil war. I hope the timeline that was reported for these issues is to be done by November, if true. Listen, I hope for Chelsea's sake it's done quickly as well, because from my perspective, I don't like to see any clubs in these situations and in these circumstances. I remember nearly getting into a fight when I was at a Man United game because I was talking about how much I didn't like Hicks and Gillette and what they were doing to Liverpool. No, it's good what they're doing. And I just sort of felt like, no, we shouldn't be advocating for this in our game. You know, it's that there are deep-rooted working class roots to our football clubs in the UK. And I understand the world has changed and football has changed, and it's a globalist sport now. And I love that people from around the world watch it and share it. But I still think we should be asking for these billionaire owners, regardless of what country they're from, to run our clubs as perfectly as they possibly can. So yeah, for me, I want clubs run well above and beyond everything else. This here says, need some different Chelsea fans in here. I just want my club to stop crap in the bed so I can watch the beautiful game. So if you want to come on, mate, and have your say, brother, you are more than welcome. If you think the Chelsea fans that come on are not doing a great job, I think we have brilliant Chelsea fans on the football terrace, but always welcome to come on here and challenge, my friend. You really, really are. TM says, also, I am biased because I am based in LA, where Bowley always had a hands-off approach to his teams, which I prefer over Egbali. Which also stands to reason as to why maybe the stories that are now coming out that Bowley doesn't really want to be as involved as he has been make a lot of sense. Because he's never, again, I'm only going by what the Americans are saying, that he never does that in his sports. I reckon he probably knows a bit more about American sports than European football, based on the fact that
it's a little different because in LA, you're the premier team in the sport. Like the Lakers are the biggest basketball team. The Dodgers are, other than the Yankees, like you mentioned, the biggest baseball team. So it's a lot easier to kind of leave it to the experts and easier to build a team. At Chelsea, yes, they have all the money in the world, but in terms of pulling power, they're not a Real Madrid, they're not a Barcelona, United, so that kind of stuff. So it's a little different. And I think that's why the article said that he wants to hire more experts, because it is a completely different ball game. It's not as easy to flex your financial wealth in terms of getting the superstars in the Premier League as Chelsea, as opposed to an LA team where you have the best weather climate in the United States, all that kind of stuff. So
although everyone leaving California? I heard everyone's leaving.
Going to Texas,
It was
apparently.
going to Texas. Yeah, that's only what I heard on a podcast. But this super chat here says, did Liverpool lack character those 4 years they finished behind City and the only team they won the league, City had too many injuries?
I mean, that's not strictly speaking true. I mean, we won 16 games in a row, drew 1, and then won 17 games in a row. So if anybody thinks that City had a hope of winning the league that season with or without injuries, I think you're on crack.
There we go. Chiesa here says, Chelsea fans actually think the problem with their club is that they didn't sign enough players. Yeah, it certainly wasn't that. Travanelli here says, yes, but yes, the Lakers are the closest to Real Madrid. The Lakers, again, see, this is I don't watch a lot of American sports. I'm someone that kind of tunes in for the Super Bowl or a big game. I always see, when as a kid growing up, I always thought that Chicago Bulls were the biggest team, but then I grew up in the 90s, so maybe that's because
it's just because Michael Jordan. The Lakers are the franchise,
and we didn't even have it on TV over here when I was growing up. There was a Sunday afternoon show on Channel 4 that showed highlights, and then Michael Jordan was so famous, and then we had Space Jam, and again, Chicago Bulls were front and center of that to a certain degree as well. So yeah, but I do like it. 13% to 0%. Texas over California. Wow, you pay no taxes in California. We're moving to Texas. We're moving.
No. The 0% is for Texas. The 13% is for California.
And no, that's what I mean. I'm moving to Texas.
Yeah.
No tax. I like that. If HH believes Arsenal have zero chance of winning with the current squad, he can't expect Arsenal to win the league and troll. He will. That's not how trolling works. So you're right. Logically, you're right, but that is not how a troll's brain works. Trolls' brains are built different. They are. It's like honeycomb or something. I don't know what it is, but their brains are not built like everybody else's. There's zero logic to them. Chiesa also here says, if City beat the UEFA case, how will the Prem win on the similar charges? It's just showboating by the Prem to act tough, but nothing will happen. Look, it's such a hard one to answer. I'm trying to arrange a really good podcast on the terrace where we're getting someone that's back City in these arguments and has a lot of information, someone who's against City and has a lot of information. A lot of it is about interpretation. And I will say, if you look at the law in itself, I've listened to lawyers speak and both interpret a law in completely different ways. And that is what this really boils down to. Now, someone that's pro-City, or not pro-City is in their general day-to-day life, just someone who's read it and gone, I don't think City have done something wrong here. They've won before, they'll be okay. Somebody else can read the exact same passage, the exact same potential rule break and say, I think they're in trouble. And essentially, that is what this is going to come down to, is the QCs are going to read it, listen to it, hear all the evidence, hear the challenges, the for and against, and then say, we're making a judgment. I mean, that's what they're called. They're called judges. They're going to make a judgment call on the situation. So it's very hard. I've listened to so many debates about it, and I'll listen to someone like Stefan on TalkSport and go, oh, that sounds really good for City. Because I listened to a pit the other day. By the way, Chelsea fans don't pick up on the content I put out. They go, that's a really good listen. They only pick up on the stuff where I say, oh, that don't sound good. But that's because I'm balanced on it. They don't think I am, but I really am. But we'll see what happens. HH talking arse, pretend to be shocked is what Jamal says here.
HH is a legend, man. HH
is a legend of the football YouTubing world. And I will say this to all the up-and-coming YouTubers, without people like HH, none of you would be here today. And I do think this about YouTube recently. There's not enough respect that go into the pioneers. Like, we have a group chat, and Neeks is in there. And the way some of the up-and-comers and new people come in and speak to him sometimes, I'm just like, no, you can't speak to someone like Neeks like that. It's just, I don't know. Does this happen in other industries? I can imagine I can't imagine Michael Bublé walking up to, he's dead now, got Tony Bennett or Frank Sinatra and disrespecting them, because without them, I can't imagine maybe it does happen in the rap industry, but surely the old school rappers, unless there's sort of like a postcode issue or an area issue, there must be respect from the new generation for the old generation, generally speaking. Surely. Like, you have to do it. Well, there wasn't with Stormzy and Wiley, was there, for a while? But it made good music. I listen when I'm in the gym, I listen to that, and I've got it set up on my playlist. That's one after the other. I love that battle. That was great.
But
did love
also
that.
tell because you obviously met him like plenty of times in person. I've met HH in person. He's exactly the same in person. This is not an act. This is HH to a T in his real life. He's not putting on an act.
Yeah, you guys should see him when he turns up in his white suit. It's amazing. It's absolutely with a bright pink shirt and like a sparkly brooch. It's great. We love HH. We know Ten Hag's under pressure at Man United, but I want to point this out because I was horrified by this today. I was absolutely horrified seeing this from one of them is actually a Man United aggregator and news channel. The other one is the biggest sports radio show and channel in the United Kingdom. And I think actually the world, they boast that. I've heard them say it before. They have posted that Erik Ten Hag has lost his third straight match as manager because his team that he was managing at a testimonial game this weekend lost. Now, for me, I wanted to call this out because everyone knows I'm not Ten Hag's biggest fan. Everybody knows I think Ten Hag probably has to leave Man United. But I called this out because I thought to myself, what a disgrace this is. What hatred, what trolling, what despicable reporting this is. Testimonials are less than a friendly. There's friendlies, and then there's testimonials. They're like down here. It's soccer aid, bruv. Seeing that from Talk Sports, seeing that from Central Devils, whatever they're called. I know Griggs is a United fan. I know the other two are not United fans, but for me personally, I thought that was disgusting that they would even make an article about it.
I find it funny as well, Tel, with what certain platforms and other people say about you with the Chelsea stuff. This ain't news and that, but I don't see people going around saying that ain't news because that really ain't news. That he's lost a testimonial match like that, like is people that are retired playing and that stuff. I didn't even know there was the testimonial match on. I don't even know what the teams were or anything, to be honest. But that's once again, man. I think it's these things like even like platforms and that they just want to get these clicks because it's stupid. But then you'll have the obviously the people that really hate Ten Hag and that they're all going to jump on that. You're now going to have rivals that want to banter Man United and say if you lose on the weekend now, for example, they'll be like, oh, you've lost Ten Hag 4 in a row. He's lost now. And then you'll be sitting there scratching your head going 4 in a row. Like, when was that 4th game? And it was a bloody testimonial match. But I just think when someone wants to drive a knife into someone's back, they just keep going and going. And I think that's what it is with Ten Hag now. I think it's going to take a lot now for Ten Hag to ever have a career at Man United. I just think it's too far gone. When you see stuff like this coming out, what hope in hell does he have? Even if he has a half decent season this year, I don't feel like the media, the fans, the rivals are going to let him have a career at Man United now because it's just getting a bit shocking now. And I feel actually a bit sorry for him with that. Like, don't forget, this is a guy and it's his job. Like, people want to forget this when it comes to footballers and managers and that. People want to forget that it's a human being. They want to just think it's like some robot that you can just chuck abuse at and just keep going on about and everything. But to even criticize a testimonial match just shows levels of, I just think, disrespect, a lack of class, I'd say, to even use that. Like, once again, do you know what the testimonial match was, Tel?
Nope. And frankly, I don't care. I'm not even gonna. It's so insignificant. And I think the thing for me is that I don't know if he's going to turn it around at United. I hope he does, but I don't think he will. Some Man United fans, like, they hate that. Oh, you've got to back him. You haven't got to back something you don't believe in. But what I will say to everyone who says they're a Man United fan, whether you despise Ten Hag or love him, this is where you should stand by your club. Because I think that this is where I wouldn't let the wolf through the door. Because that kind of reporting is a wolf in sheep's clothing. I don't like that type of thing. This is where I'll stand by my football club and say enough's enough. This is a disgrace. And I left it until this show because it's one of our biggest shows of the week, most viewers that we get. And I wanted to speak about it on there. And for me, it's a case of it wound me up something chronic because it's still Man United they're attacking. And there are some United fans that go, oh, yeah, we can jump on the pylon. Why? It's our football club that they are mocking here. and there is no reason to even report on the testimonial game. There's zero reason. It's a nothing football match. It meant nothing. I get the Dutch press doing it because I assume it was in Holland. I don't know.
Apparently, I think it was like Utrecht based on like
I don't know. It left a very sour taste in my mouth seeing that, especially forget TalkSport for a moment, especially. And by the way, I wonder. This is no dig. This is true. I hope that Flex and the boys on there, they have a weekly United show now on TalkSport. I hope you bring it up and slam them. I hope you bring it up and whoever the journalist was and ruin them, bruv. Ruin them and embarrass them on screen, because why even write an article about it? And that big United channel that shared it, come on now. It's mad.
Yeah, obviously, I didn't know there was that small. The only charity match I knew was the Man United Celtic one because I watched Ray Rooney's free kick about 55 times, and then Michael Carrick's performance to reminisce how it feels to have an actual good DM in life. But yeah, I didn't even know Ten Hag was doing anything in Holland. Obviously, he didn't help himself by attacking the journalist last week. Like just like we mentioned, the journalists now are gonna pile onto him even more because journalism is like a union. Like all those guys kind of back each other, and he attacked one of them last week by kind of being aggressive towards him. So he even put much more of a target on his back. And the club is also not doing well enough where you could kind of paper over that kind of target by saying, oh, we're winning. You can't really attack me right now because we're still struggling. So he's not helping himself by that. But yeah, with Ten Hag, it's writing on the wall. I don't like that kind of journalism either. I don't understand why they reported it because obviously I work with a couple of the aggregators on Twitter and stuff like that. We didn't even post that in our group chats, let alone on the actual Twitter page. That shouldn't even, no one even cares about what he does at Utrecht. For all we know, we all should have thought Ten Hag was in his crib with his wife enjoying international break. That's about it. No one cares what he should be doing other than that. So I don't understand. But yeah, I think for me, it's the target's going to keep happening. And the only way to get off of it is for United to start winning. But for that to happen, you actually need to start performing as a football club. And all I'm saying is, but this might happen next week too, because Terry, you saw all our international players were hooping over the weekend. They all thrived. They come back on Thursday to training and stuff like that. We have an early kickoff against Southampton on Saturday. If we struggle, automatically a couple people are going to spin the topic into look at all these guys. Xerxes was scoring over the weekend for Holland. Ugarte, who by the way, Ten Hag said is months away from joining and stuff like that, played 80 minutes for Uruguay in a South American qualifier. Bruno had an amazing weekend. Dalo, all these kind of guys. So he needs to change also his approach in press conferences as well and kind of maybe be a little bit more similar to his first
I agree. He has got to perform. He has to get the team performing. Otherwise, they will come in for him. They absolutely. And then what you might get from his detractors that are Man United fans is, why wasn't he focusing on making the team? Why was he at a testimonial game when he should have been focusing on making us play better? That's how it will be spun. Because again, they're very transparent, these individuals. On Man United, though, reports this evening that we are going to hold talks with Rabiot about a deal to bring him in to bolster the midfield.
Is that
what's everybody? Let me ask you this: what's everyone's problem with Rabiot? Every time I watch him play, he looks quite good. I don't get why
his mom is Kris Jenner. That's the issue. It's keeping up with the Rabiots. That's what it is. It's literally that. First of all, I think he wants high wages. That's the first thing. Obviously, he might lower his wages because Deschamps kind of called him out and said, you better find a club if you want to continue playing for France in the international stage. Otherwise, it's clear for you in that stage. So maybe he'll lower his demands now. Obviously, is he a bad player? No, he's a good player. He had a good time at Juventus. He was one of their better performing midfielders. And let's be real, he's not worse than Casemiro in 2024. So I'll have that to deal with. But I think it's the issue that he brings. Like I mentioned, his mom, she might not even be his agent anymore. So I have to go a little bit into further detail, but it's the issues with Rabiot. He's also the kind of player when I look at the sign, I'm like, can I trust this player in the trenches? When we have like a big 6 game away at Anfield, for example, can I trust this guy to perform? Like Amrabat, for example, not the best of players, but I knew he put in a shift. Rabiot, if he's not on it in the mood, he'll look like one of the worst players on the pitch. The body language and stuff like that. I look at players' body language, and Rabiot, not that kind of guy, and especially for a club like United where he'll probably just look at us right now kind of like as a paycheck, as a way back into the maybe France team, that kind of stuff. I don't view him as the kind of guy that will...
Let's be honest right now. What you're doing is trying to turn away a player that is not, like you're trying to say, oh, we don't really need him. When you look at Manchester United's midfield, as we can all see, there isn't really one. It's just open season. Everyone can get at it. So right now, Man United need all the reinforcements they can get. When I look at Rabiot and I look at the current midfielders you have a lot of midfielders that aren't good on the ball, not very mobile. You signed Ugarte, who I've gone out there and said it. He's just a fancy Højbjerg. He's just got a nice name. He sounds nice. He comes from PSG. He played in Sporting Lisbon, but this guy's not really good. If you actually look at the stats, I think he was one of the most dribble pass players, and in all of the Champions League last season. So it's not someone that's coming in to take your midfield to the next level. And then I look at Rabiot, again, not an outstanding player, but on the ball, he's tidy. And like you said, in big games, he's played in big games. So I don't see why he can't come in and contribute.
Well, what I'll say is from the Liverpool fan base, I'd probably say midfield is probably the weakest part of our squad. And I don't think there's much appetite for Rabiot to come in. I think a couple of seasons ago, there may have been more interest. But from what he's done relatively recently, I don't think he significantly improves us. And obviously, you know, United with the talk about restructuring the wage bill and all this kind of stuff, how is that going to get settled? Like, if he's coming in on 150, 200 grand a week, that seems a bit hasty, but I don't know. I'd be cautious about it.
I think the price.
I'd give this shift to someone in the academy personally. I can find a kid in the academy that can just do the same shit Rabiot can do. Or because in Ten Hag's midfield, it's not like you need to be a baller to play in Ten Hag's midfield. All you gotta do is just be able to run. That's about it. Because he ain't gonna play through the midfield anyway. He's gonna ignore it. So you might as well just have legs. And we could probably find someone in the academy, like a Collier, for example. Just have him do the job. He has a passion for it. He has the legs for it, all that kind of stuff. Have him do the job, and he'll be on like 20K a week wages. He just mentioned, right? Robin wants over 250K a week. He's gonna that would make him, I think, on even pace like Mason Mount, who we already hit his wages. So imagine with a Rabiot, he'll be on like that's too high wages for me for a guy that's a stopgap.
Yeah, I agree with. I don't want him on ridiculous wages that you think that you can't move him on from, as an example. If he was to be on something like 150, could rise to 250 if we achieve certain things, and he's an integral part. So I don't know how you word it, but
it's a 1 year deal, Terry, with 200K a week, 1 year deal. That's not so bad.
One year deal.
One year deal, not an issue because he's going to go at the end of it. But I still think it depends if we really want him. So if he's a player that we think really, because I think he improves our midfield as an individual player overall, I think he improves our midfield. The price has got to be really important about how much we pay him, because he clearly isn't the main guy we want. If you put him on too big a deal, when it comes to next summer and you go, right, we want to move for the better ball playing midfield player, we can't now because we've maxed all our wages out on a 4-year deal for Rabiot. So I want us to make sure we get that right. But when it comes to I get what people say about him not looking a bit nonchalant in games. I see a lot of people say that, not so much you, Griggs, but I see a lot of people say it who also used to say, don't talk about Anthony Martial's body language. And I find it interesting that there are certain players whose body languages we can talk about, and then other players who we can't. Rashford, if you talk about Rashford body language, you're made into a superstar online. Like, people love it when you slag off Rashford's body language. Talk about Paul Pogba's body language, you scumbag. It's really interesting. And I'm talking within the Man United fan base, there are certain players who's McTominay, you could rip into that body language. He's always hiding. He never wants to get involved. When they go and get stuff, he disappears. Bruno's body language, he can screw it. I'm a little bit more open-minded. I don't necessarily think the body language is too much of an issue. Again, every time I watch him play, he looks good. I think I think he looks good to very good all the time. I never really watch him and go, wow, look at that performance. Equally, I've very rarely watched him play and gone, that was a stinker. Like, he was absolutely dog. And I think Man United, I know that Souness laughed about this before, but I almost feel like we need a bit of a steady Eddie, but the price has got to be right. So if we could bring him in on a good wage or a short-term deal to bolster the midfield this season, I'd be really happy with that. I look at the systems are always important. Last year when Liverpool got Gravenberch, I was so gutted. I knew there was a player in there. This season, he's playing in a slightly more Dutch system as opposed to sort of the German element of Klopp. And I know it's only a few games, but I think people are seeing the player that Bayern Munich bought, that Liverpool bought last year. And the worst bit would be Rabiot joins a rival on a similar deal to what we could get him for, and he kills it. You know what I mean? If he goes to a rival and he kills it, that is going to hurt us when we're and I get what you're saying about Collier in midfield. I like him. He's a really talented young man. But if things don't start to get better soon, I almost don't want another kid going into the team.
But I also think,
you know,
I
The
also
way-
think you
if you
can't,
look at
you
the Man
can't,
United
if
team
you're not
right
sure
now-
about a player, you shouldn't sign him, right? Like if the scouts and the people, the director of football, all that kind of, if they're not sure, then I think
Very
it's
true.
better to I think it's better to walk away. But again, it kind of depends a little bit on your level of desperation or what. You know what? Maybe you look to think what can we do in January? Maybe if there's opportunities, or you're speaking to players and you think there may be an opportunity in January, maybe you wait until then. But if you don't think there's anything on the horizon, and you think, you know what, we need to try our best to get European football or Champions League football, maybe you roll the dice on a 1 or 2 year deal.
I hear that. Now, listen, it's just going to be an interesting one. If we could bolster it with a decent free transfer, I am up for that, because we just need that little bit more. I think having
He's left-footed too, by the way. But that's the one thing I like. He's left-footed. United have about, I think right now, we only have one left-footed player in the back six, which is just Lisandro Martinez, because Luke Shaw's injured. So he would help from that kind of perspective in terms of the angle bias, and add a left-footed player into the midfield. It would help without having a left back right now. So that's probably, there's a few positives to him, but if the wages ain't right, just move on and just wait for someone in January next summer.
No, I hear you on that completely. I do. Chiesa here says Simon Jordan used to diss fan channels, saying they are toxic and silly, when TalkSport always comes out with the most outrageous takes. Well, this is the thing. It's one of a lot of the guys on the show know this. We've spoken in group chats and privately a number of times. I know this to be a fact because I met people from TalkSport and Sky and the like at a couple of the football content awards. And whenever they won an award, they were booed by the crowd, which I found was really interesting. They came up and they kind of took it well, a bit pantomiming. They were booed because, and one of the guys said in his speech, I think it was someone from Sky, saying, look, we want to thank you all because you're helping lead the way with the content that we're now making. And I had a chat and a beer with him afterwards. And essentially what he said, and the guy from TalkSport, is they look at what the fan channels are doing. And he goes, we just think we can do it slightly better because we can throw more money at it. And it was a little kind of epiphany moment in my own mind where I was like, the fan channels have got to stop fighting each other, attacking each other, being worried about what each other are doing, because there are billionaires and billion-pound organizations that are coming for this spot. They want it. And there are organizations out there. Look, I partnered with a company, but I partnered with a company that turns over a couple of £1 million a year, not billions, right? There's a fundamental difference between Snack Media and what they were helping me do. But there are like Spotify own a number of these really big podcasts that look like fan podcasts. There's loads out there. You look at it, you'll see them on Instagram, you'll see them on Twitter and YouTube. You're like, oh, it's a new fan channel. It isn't. It's owned by Spotify, or it's owned by Sky, or it's owned by, and they're pumping all this money at it. And it's why the fan channel community have got to stop their infighting, have got to stop what I call the cannibalization of one another. Oh, I'm going to get him and try and lose him a few subs. And oh, I'm going to screw this person over and try and damage this. All you're going to do is make it easier for these organizations to overtake us all. So everybody has got to start pulling together and look beyond the end of their nose, because trust me, it's coming. So yes, when it comes to TalkSport and the like attacking the fan channels, they did it as a strategy to get people from the fan channels to come on, right, to debate them. They then gave a lot of those people jobs to grow their social media. Like now, some of them are stayed, and then they move on from them. And what also happens is then people go, oh, do you know what? I'm going to start doing all this work with Sky, all this work with TalkSport. And it's cool if you're an up-and-comer, that's what you want to do. But there are people that have now 90% abandoned their own channels to help grow the platform of these people. And eventually they'll just let you go, say cheers for the last 5 years, and you'll go back to your channel that's now dead because you let it alone. It's what they do. It's so Football.London did it, right? They took loads of content creators and we're going to make this big, massive, like, oh wow, we're gonna smash the industry. And people said to me, Terry, you worried that they're gonna like take over the space? I went, no, they've done me a favor. All these really good up and coming YouTubers have now stopped making content. Amazing. It was at the time, but now I look back 4 or 5 years later and I'm like, actually, that was really wrong. It's damaging for the industry. Really, 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 really damaging. So yeah, that's my response to TalkSport and those individuals. TalkSport has trained experts like Merck. Yes, and this is what they do. So they add the fan channel element with the outrage and the crazy takes, but they have then the money, because if you wanted Danny Murphy on a show like this, you are looking at like a $5,000 to $10,000 fee. We don't have the money for that. So what happens is they can pay the stars to be there and they mix it in with the fan channel element and they win. Because people are attracted to the bright lights. You know what I'm saying? It's honestly, it's I'm not saying don't work with them. I'm not saying don't take jobs. I'm stating fan channels stop fighting and work together. It's very, very important indeed. This I wanted to North London derby's coming up, gents. Calafiori, he's come home injured. Your twin brother Giuseppe has come home injured. How worried are you about that injury? Rice being missing, Moreno not being available, Gabriel Jesus being out. You've got to go to the old enemy this weekend. Are you feeling, is the old April going a little bit?
You know what?
Can I just say, I noticed how Giuseppe's not even wearing his team's colours today. See me, I come out my flag because it's a big week. Coming to my ground, so I'm just making him feel a bit.
Yeah, you are wearing purple. You are wearing purple, actually. You're wearing
atmosphere. Get used to it.
No, it's blue. It's blue. Wearing it for the Azzurri.
That is purple.
No, it's the light. It's blue. It's Azzurri. Arsenal, Italy. But on the North London derby, I'm all right with it. We'll see. It's not going to be easy. It never is. Listen, the North London derby is the game where I never get nervous until the day, and on the day I get really. But I get nervous when we're the one that is looking like, oh, it's going to be easy for us, and they've got this and that. Like, I'm nervous regardless when it comes to the North London derby, because definitely I don't know if it's like from when I was at school near where I'm from, like around London and that school, it was like so many Arsenal and Tottenham. It was bragging rights, in it. Like the next day at school, you knew what it was when you won, and you knew what it was when you didn't win. But yeah, the Calafiori one is annoying. I don't think it's that one. Don't bother me as much. It's not the end of the world. We haven't been relying on him this season so far. He's just been doing this thing. I think he's actually going to be all right for the game. I think we brought him back just so. I think we forced him back because we didn't want them playing him in the next game, maybe, because I think it might not actually be as bad as like certain platforms were making out, and they were maybe going to put him on the bench, potentially use him in the next game, and Arsenal were like, no, we want him back because we've had a few injuries. The Declan Rice one, listen, like Spurs might as well give their paycheck to my man, the ref from the last game, that he ain't playing in the North London derby. Because that was wild, but it is what it is. I weren't here, obviously. I've been busy last week, so I didn't ever get to speak on that red card, the disgrace of the red card. But forget that; that's in the past. Declan Rice out, Moreno out. Listen, Spurs. Hey, listen, it's all going right for Spurs' way. So if Spurs don't win, I'm not going to say it like that. But if we beat Spurs a third time in a row at their ground, missing all these players and that, it might not look great. Spurs might start panicking a little bit, but we've still got enough to beat them. 100%, we still got enough to beat them with the players out, because we've got our defense.
Giuseppe thinks he's smart. Haven't you guys noticed? Giuseppe thinks he's smart here. He's trying to deflect the pressure. He's trying to push the pressure back onto Spurs. Like Arsenal aren't the title challengers. Like Arsenal aren't supposed to be, challenging City. You're supposed to be taking them the long way. You've got a trip up to the Etihad soon.
But
Jords, no, let's have it right.
No,
let's not do this. Yeah, you have to win this weekend. You've dropped points already this season. City are rolling. They're steaming. They're gonna go to Brentford, pick up their points. Get the win midweek against Watford, and then when they're waiting for Arsenal, and you're going to their ground. Haaland's been on fire. Gundogan hasn't even got going. Foden hasn't even started the season. This is where it's really going to start get cooking. So you've already dropped points. City haven't. You have to win this weekend. Don't try to deflect the pressure. But let's have it. What we're coming to do, you're coming to our ground. Like you said, 3 wins in a row, that's not going to happen. It's never happened before. We're not going to let it happen. We've got players coming back. Dom Solanke, Van de Ven. We've got players coming back. We've got our first team back for once, because the past couple of games, as we've seen, Everton, Newcastle, we've been missing our number 9. We've been missing someone in the middle. And Dom Solanke's been waiting. He's been itching. He's been on the sidelines. We didn't want to rush him back. We thought, let's be patient, because the North London derby's coming up. And I'm telling you now, he's going to pull that arrow up. He's scoring. He's been waiting for it, man. And we have too. So I can't wait for this game. I'm not going to sit here and lie. It's definitely going to be a tough one. No one's going to make it seem like we're going to go come and batter Arsenal, but I've got a feeling we're gonna spoil your party, because let's be real now. Like I said, the pressure's on you guys. It's not on us. Everyone's been writing off Spurs this season. Everyone's been saying Spurs ain't going to do nothing. Spurs ain't going to finish in the top 4. Spurs are rubbish. Spurs are done, apparently. But we're silently keep doing our thing. Although the results haven't come so far, the season's only early. We're going to cook up a lot sooner. So unlike the past few seasons where we've started off really quick and then we've traded out later on, I think Spurs are going to be a lot more steady this season. We're going to pick it up as it keeps going. So this game, second home game in the season, I can't wait for it. I'm telling you now.
Jords, I agree to an extent and I disagree to an extent. As a fan, I get you. You haven't got the pressure. But as a club, when we're now coming to you and they're saying, brother, you cannot let these guys win for a third time in a row on your home soil. Yeah, your biggest rivals. Yeah, this and that. Plus, you've dropped points twice this season already. You've drawn 2 games this season, right? So this will be out of 4 games. If you lose or drop points in this game, you've only won 1 game this season out of 4. There's also big pressure on you. And I think for me, obviously you've got your players back. We've got some, I think Jesus is reportedly going to be back for the North London derby. We've also got obviously.
Is that the best striker in London? They called him, ain't it?
I don't know how he's gonna pan out. But we've also got Sterling that's going to probably want to make a statement first game against the High Line. You never know. He's going to want to show something. Chelsea, you know, he's always played decent against Spurs as well.
2024, we're supposed to be scared. Ooh.
No, I'm not saying be scared, but he's going to have a point to prove in it playing his first game. And if you want to give something to the Arsenal fans and the club, that's the game to do it in. He comes in the game and scores a winner or something, then all of a sudden that signing, all the fans turn to it as more of like, oh, this might not be a bad signing sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? But listen, it's going to be a tough game. It always is, even when we're dominating the league, even the years where we had Thierry Henry and stuff. It was never easy going away at Arsenal for us, going away at Spurs for us. So that is just how it is. But it's early. Oh, listen, we've got 2 hard games. We've had a hard start to the season, innit? That's what I've said. People laughed at me when I said if we win our first 5, I think we'll go on to win the league. That's now voided because we ain't won our first 5 because we've already drawn with Brighton. So people can't even hold me to that anymore. But that's why I said if we win our first 5, because if you look at the games we had in there, even Brighton was a tricky one. I know the ref, for me, ruined the game. And I think if the ref didn't make the stupid dumbass decision he did, then we win the game still. But you got to take them. Listen, when you battle City, I've always said when you battle City, you can't let games lean into the ref's hands. You got to just win games, bro, because they're
you know why you can't blame the ref as well? Because you had chances. Saka had a chance. Havertz had a chance. They should have buried it.
Yeah,
so only look at
yourself. Of course.
Say,
you can't fully blame the ref, but I can still blame incompetence from the ref in the game, in my opinion. I'm not saying that's the sole reason we didn't win the game, of course, but he was still incompetent in that game, in my opinion. And the incompetence come from the fact that I've seen many players do that and not get cards. The fact that he believes he can't just tell Rice that, listen, you're on a yellow card. I could send you off for that. One more stupid thing and you're off. The fact that João Pedro didn't get yellow carded in the first half for booting it halfway across the pitch when it went off for a throw. All these things. But regardless, it's what bothered me more of him getting sent off is that he ain't playing this game. I'll be honest, that was what pissed me off the most about him getting sent off, was he's missing the North London derby. Shame we didn't get that Jude Bellingham treatment of he can choose when to hold that ban. But no, listen, I think we'll beat Spurs still. I actually do think we're going to beat you. Like, I think that we're going to go into that game. I think it's actually going to be worse for Spurs in this game that Arsenal are going in. Kind of like it's gonna be said that we're kind of going in as the underdogs now. You know that that's how it's gonna be perceived. If you believe it or not, with Rice being out, Moreno being out, the Calafiori thing, people are gonna start painting the picture that Arsenal it's a weakened Arsenal side.
Question: you laughed there, Jords. Are you saying Arsenal are better than you and are favourites at your ground?
No. But as I said, apparently Spurs are shit. Spurs are not supposed to finish top 4. That's what everyone's been saying so far.
Yeah, what do you say? What do you say? I get that.
I already said I expect Spurs to win. Every time I play Arsenal, I come on this channel, I tell you, I expect my team to win. North London derby, I'll put my chest out wherever it needs to go. Spurs need to come and do the business this weekend. And I expect us to do the business this weekend, especially because they're coming to our home ground, especially because they beat us the past 2 games. The last game, they didn't deserve it, but they done the job. We can't even talk about it. So I expect us to go there and get the job done. I expect us to win this weekend. And boy, like you said, you can be confident in your team. I look at Arsenal and I say, like I said, no Rice, you're missing your anchor. The midfield is definitely somewhere where I think you're going to lose a lot of control. The one thing about Spurs so far this season, as you can see, again, check the stats. I'm not a fully stats person, but I've watched my team enough to know we take control of games. We completely smother teams. And I feel like at times this is going to happen to Arsenal. We're going to get full control of them. And knowing Arsenal, they're not going to sit back 8 or 9 edge of the box. They're going to try press us, and we're going to break through them. And with Son, we already know Son, he only needs one chance, especially against Arsenal. He loves a goal in the North London derby. Sonny, give him one chance, and boy, I think that we get. It's going to be a game with goals. I definitely know that. I'm not going to sit here and say that my defense is it's leaky. There is a goal or 2 always available in this defense because we play such a high line. It's a risky game. With Van der Ven back, we won't be concede as many chances like we did against Newcastle in the transition, but I still I respect Arsenal's attack to know that with Saka and with Pedro Porro out on the right and potentially Raza, he could take advantage of him. Pedro Porro's positioning is pretty bad at times. He often leaves gaps open in the defense, and he loves to fly forward. So at times our left side, our right side, and their left side probably they'll take advantage of it. But I still think that we're gonna have more firepower than them. I think we're gonna take more control of the game, and I expect us to go and win, man. 2-1, 3-1, we're going to do the business.
Giuseppe, if you lose or get a draw, especially considering start of the season, I think a lot of Arsenal fans, but also a lot of neutrals were saying, Arsenal look like they're ready to win this league this season. How much of a blow is that going to be if you're 4 points, 5 points behind? Yeah, Liverpool. I still think people maybe don't think we're going to win it. But obviously, City are there. Is that going to be a big blow if you guys end up 4 or 5 points behind City?
It will. Do you know what? It will be a blow, 100%. The only thing I will say is it's happened right at the start of the season, which could end up being a bit better for us than it happening in December, January time. Yeah, sure. Which happened in previous seasons right at the start. That's why there was a part of me that was like, although we've started the season with these shit ton of hard fixtures, yeah, it's not the worst getting them out of the way, because say you do have a little sloppy period there, you can then go on a stupidly good run at the second half of the season and that. And we've seen City do the same thing. Obviously, we're not City, but we've seen City start a bit not on it as much and then go on a stupid run. Now, we'd have to obviously see City drop points, but even Spurs away, City drop points there often. I know last season they didn't. That's a different story. That's a different talking point. But yeah, I think it'll be a blow if we lose. Loss 100%. I think draw is still a big blow, and I think it would take a lot of confidence out of the Arsenal fan base. It would all go on to the next game, how we play City. Because say we draw against Spurs, but then we go and beat City at the Etihad the next game, then it will swing the tides of the confidence. It's a tough 2 games, man. I don't think Arsenal fans could have asked for a tougher 2 games for our fan base. Yeah. Obviously, if you chucked Anfield in there, maybe, but the emotion in the Spurs thing.
You've got midweek games in between both of them as well.
Yeah, one's a Champions League away game. And that's another thing that I don't like. That's really a tough one, because we play away on the Thursday in Italy, and then we've got on the Saturday or Sunday we have City, and City play at home on the Wednesday, and then we've got them on I know it's a day and it's little things, but it is little points where you're like,
no,
damn,
that makes an impact. That certainly makes an impact. It does. I just want to ask Rack before we go to another part of the Arsenal conversation. How do you think Raheem Sterling is going to do? He's an ex-Liverpool player, so you know him well. How do you think he will adapt to North London? And do you think it'll be a hit for the Gunners this campaign?
So I was on the Gaz channel yesterday, and there was the question was posed: who's going to be more successful, Raheem Sterling or what's his name, who came in for Chelsea? I can't even remember. But long and short of it was that
Sancho.
Sancho, exactly. And look, Raheem Sterling has been there, done it, won everything there is to possibly win. He's got pedigree. Look, Chelsea last season and the season before, a bit, there's a lot going on at Chelsea. Arsenal is a stable team. You're going in there with a defined position potentially. He may not start every game, but when when he comes onto the pitch, he has quality and he can hurt you. So I think it's a no-brainer to stay, especially if you compare to Sancho, who he's potentially a very good player, but hasn't done it in the Premier League at all. I think Sterling will do okay. I don't understand why a lot of Arsenal fans were really negative about the signing. The signing on those terms, where you're not paying a transfer fee or not paying a loan fee, and you're paying a fraction of wages, that's a no-brainer. I would have taken him at Liverpool for a season on loan, despite the history and stuff. I think he'll do okay, and I think Arsenal fans will be. However, I don't think he'll necessarily stay, but I think it's a good signing for a season.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by it. I was in two minds when Man United were linked to him. There's part of me that wanted him because you look at him run still. There's speed in his legs. It kind of shows you a player isn't that physically. When you look at him, he doesn't look done. Is it the Chelsea effect that he went to Chelsea? We've spent 45 minutes talking about Chelsea and how poorly they've been run, the infighting, the problems. Is that on him? If Arsenal get even 80% of what City got, it's a very good loan. If they get the Chelsea Raheem Sterling, they're just going to be laughed and bantered for it. I'm intrigued, and no better way of making though an impact. And I didn't even think about it till Giuseppe said it. Coming on or starting even against your biggest rivals, biggest local rivals in Spurs, grabbing a goal or winning the game. It's a great way to introduce yourself, and it's going to be an intriguing one indeed. A few super chats on the game. First one says, I'd put Timber in midfield and Calafiori at left back if fit.
No
he's not a midfielder,
if you've got to do anything, you put Zinchenko in the midfield over that. But I don't think we do that. I personally think if Jesus is fit as well to play the game, I generally think you play Partey, and I think he's going to play Havertz in the 8. That's what I think Arteta's going to end up doing.
That makes sense.
Be careful what you wish for.
Solanke, imagine being excited about Solanke is what Wayne Sage here says to Jords.
Respect Solanke
last season. Just saying.
But we've already played Solanke pre-season, and he looks nothing. We locked him up, mate. Our defense locked him down, so we'll have to wait and see.
4 points from 3 games, and he thinks Spurs are not under pressure.
No, I definitely think there's some pressure to get results, but again, it's a long season. I don't feel like our performances have been disappointing. If you look at the likes of Manchester United, it's a different situation. The performances have been bad, results have been bad. Our performances have been good, results haven't been great. You can build upon performances. I don't think you can build upon bad performances. So.
Can we just leave my team out of this right now, please?
I know you're happy a few weeks ago. I just need to stamp on the parade while I can, because if it ramps up in a few weeks and then start getting chest again,
I was about to say to you, we're still going to win another trophy before you do. So I'm relaxed when it comes to Spurs, bro. I'm still going to do it
while I can. That's
fine. I hear you, mate. The Arch Rainbow at the Emirates hype is crazy. The Arch Rainbow, I don't quite get it. Yeah. Sorry?
It's about Sterling, I think.
Oh, the Arch back it. I think okay. I can't. No. I get it now. I get it. We're moving on. I wanted to ask about Declan Rice, because he got a lot of stick on this channel, a lot of stick in the media for his start of the season, where he hasn't been particularly good, to a point where I feel that people started to rewrite last season, started to rewrite his West Ham career, that he's never been that good, he's never been consistent. It was a handful of bad games, granted. He was very, very good against Ireland, and I thought he shut a lot of his haters up. But now what's happening is he's getting it left, right, and center in both barrels because he didn't celebrate the goal. Giuseppe, someone of dual nationality like yourself, what do you make of this outrage? And again, TalkSport, a massive pile-on today on him, that it's a disgrace. He's shown no loyalty. They've disregarded everything he said about his grandparents and just, no, he should be celebrating the England goal. How do you see it yourself?
First of all, the Arsenal effect, mate. I'm telling you, brother. That someone joins Arsenal and all of a sudden they're just hated for some reason. And England international is just now hated for not celebrating against Ireland. But then the same pundits and the same people, yeah, if they sell a player to another team and that player scores against them and celebrates, they call him a scumbag and this and that. And that's just the team you played for. He scored against a country who he is dual national with. Like, his grandparents are from that country. He's lost his grandparents. He's come out and he said that his grandparents would find it disrespectful if he celebrated against them. Yeah, that's in his heart. If that's what he wants to do, that's what he wants to do. He still scored the goal. He didn't put in a crap performance against them and said, "Oh, I didn't really want to," or like he didn't take a penalty at the end and a penalty shoot, and he's like, "I didn't really want to take a penalty because of loyalty to the country." It's just people wanting to dig him out for anything. And since he's joined Arsenal, the disgusting stuff that has been thrown at Declan Rice because people are envious and jealous that Arsenal signed him is unbelievable. This ain't just started now, Tel. You got to remember last season when he was playing so good, they started going for his misses. That she weren't the ideal woman that these guys want. These same guys that are sitting at home on the computer and they're virgins, you know. These guys going for that. They're going for his family. They're going for his him leaving West Ham. He's a scumbag for leaving West Ham because he's moved up to try and compete for leagues. Now it's then it was the poor performances. Then it was the England. Everyone else for England got the benefit of Southgate's trash. Not Declan Rice though. No, he's the one that it was all him. You know. Now he's playing good for England again. Yeah, funny enough. Now it's something else. It's the why is he not celebrating? He's a disgusting guy. Listen, it makes no sense to me. It makes zero sense. Listen, at the end of the day, if I scored against Italy and my grandparents are from there, I am very culturally Italian as well. Why am I going to celebrate if I don't believe? Like, certain people don't care. That's fine. But if someone does care, they're entitled to care. That's still, you can't play for both teams. You've got to pick one or the other. Yeah. And it would have been the same vice versa. So I think it's just people wanting to dig him out for anything. The same people. I don't want to see any person or any pundit or anyone that has said this now ever saying anything about a player celebrating against their former club or applauding someone for not celebrating against their former club.
But even then, Simon Jordan also said he doesn't like it when players leave a football club, join a new one, and then refuse to celebrate. He goes, I think it's virtue signaling. And he went on to talk about how some of them even force themselves out the club and then they move on to somewhere new and they pretend like they're not happy they've scored. And I just think he's missing the point. 9 times out of 10, when a player leaves a club, they still have a good relationship with the fans. Those fans for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, however long it may be, serenaded them, looked after them, took care of them and protected them. And it is a sign of respect. This comment here from Machiavelli says he sung the national anthem. Then he said he didn't want to disrespect his grandparents. Now, this is what you're not listening to, Machiavelli. Listen to what he said. I think if his grandparents and his family would have said, look, Declan, we're going to feel disrespected if you play for England, disrespected if you wear the shirt, disrespected if you sing the national anthem, he probably wouldn't have done it. All he has stated is that they wouldn't have liked me celebrating a goal against their nation. There's a fundamental difference between those two things. And I don't know everybody's background. But I'm not dual nationality. I don't have 2 dual nationalities, but my son does. My son is exactly the same as Declan Rice. He is half, even more so than Declan Rice. His mother is Irish and I am English. And I personally wouldn't mind if he was playing rugby against England and he celebrated. It wouldn't personally upset me. But if I was to tell my son, look, do what makes you happy. Don't celebrate if you score though. I'd expect my son would probably not celebrate, and vice versa, especially if it's his mother's nation he's against, or a grandmother. I think it's so disrespectful of people to disregard the sort of standings and the sort of microcosm culture within someone's family. Because that is what Rice is talking about. He isn't talking about Rice isn't like, oh, you know, I love the king and queen and I love corgis and fry-ups and cups of tea. No, it's literally about his family. I find it I can't believe in the modern day world we live in that this is even a talking point. And for me, it's a dog whistle to all the flag shaggers. And that doesn't mean you can't be patriotic, because I love my country. To all the people that get mad if someone doesn't wear a poppy, well, that's literally what people fought for, freedom, you moron, for people to do what they want and say what they want. And that's the bit I can't ever get my head around. It's just a little Englander, nasty sort of not a nasty approach to try and cause problems for someone, in my humble opinion. It doesn't even need, we're talking about and condemning it, but it doesn't need to be brought up again by a broadcasting station that's being listened to by tens of millions of people. It is absolutely abhorrent, in my personal opinion.
It's just faux outrage. People love to get angry about absolutely nothing because it makes them feel important, or because they feel like it means something. Like, there's also a lot of history between England and Ireland, right? And a lot of it is, very, very serious stuff. And obviously we're talking about football, but some of that bleeds into it. The reason why England is disliked by, I think more so England is disliked by Scotland and Ireland and countries. Then I think we as English people, we don't necessarily mind Ireland or Scotland or whatever in the same way. But there's a lot of history there. And, there's family. Like, there's more important things to get angry about or be focused on.
Let me paint this picture. This is the problem, and I agree with Giuseppe. They want to pilot that right now. Declan Rice seems to be one of the players. Sterling has been through it. Beckham has been through it. Rooney, that they're going for. If he had celebrated, and that stadium descended into riots and fights, they would have condemned him for inciting it. Mm-hmm. And I just feel that he is damned if he does and damned if he doesn't. In that, if he celebrates, the same people that said he disrespected a nation that his pet grandparents are from. If violence ensued, it would never have been the player's fault. But if it was, they'd have said that he incited it and that he encouraged it. That is a problem. This is about whatever he does, they're going to look for the negative in the opposite direction. We see this all the time. And someone said it's tribalism gone mad. I disagree. I think it's exactly what, it's not tribalism gone mad. I think it's what Rack just said there. It's flux outrage. It's right. I've got to find something to be angry about today. There you go. Got it. That's what I'm going to shout at clouds about. And we see it all the time, especially in the social media era. We all have rants. I've had rants. We've all had rants and been angry. There's no doubt. But some people are angry all day, every day, whenever they speak. I can't believe that you're that angry. It does not compute in my brain that you are that angry every minute of every single day. It don't make sense to me personally. I can't fathom it. Can't fathom it.
That makes sense. And the thing is with Rice as well, it's just like see a lot of people on social media, the troll aspect comes to it and people just start piling on because it's fun. But like, I was looking at some accounts and they're like, they're not even English. They're not Irish. They're not even from either nation. So I don't get why that's affected you and you're getting angry about it. Like it's crazy, man. And once again, if he had celebrated, you would have had another load of people going disrespect for his former country. You can't win, and it's always been the way with a lot of these footballers. As you said, damned if you do, damned if you don't. At the end of the day, people just want to moan and they want to crap. Like it's so draining, and that's the thing when you read it, it's so draining.
The next is here. Evening, Terry. Happens to everyone. I have been called out by people for supporting India in cricket, not England. And I mean, I've seen that as well. It just, again, personally, I mean, this is what's crazy. When I grew up, you would ask that question of people, not because you were looking for like I know they call them like microaggressions now, but you weren't doing it for that reason. You were literally like, oh, what cricket team? Everyone just asked each other at school when I grew up. And Rack, you're a similar age to me. It was just like that. You knew where people were from based on their name, and they'd tell you. Most of my friends that had dual nationality supported both. If they both played each other, they would tend to side with where their heritage was from. But again, that's also very different from somebody that has dual nationality whose parents are from different parts of the world. So I think, again, I can't speak for other people, but if your dad's English and your mum's Italian, or your dad's English and your mum's Indian, that might feel different to someone whose entire family's Indian who has just moved to the UK. Like, there are still differences to it. And the problem I find is it's a lack of education and a lack of understanding that not everybody looks at the world the same way you do because their background is different. Yeah. And for some reason, certain people can't get their heads around it at all. And it's the pile-on it creates why I don't like it. It's the pile-on that isn't needed. We see it everywhere. The Mexican-American players who choose to play for the US instead of Mexico get so much abuse from the Mexican media. It's insane. Again, I'm not privy to that. But that's crazy. I always remember listening to Mo Farah speak, and I think people said, "Oh, why did you choose to represent Britain?" And he basically alluded to, and I'm paraphrasing massively, it was just, well, I came here and they got me into the sport and trained me and funded it. So I thought it was right to represent them. But equally, some people don't feel that same way, and that's fine as well. That's absolutely fine as well. And I think those, I know no one likes the word anymore, tolerance, but those are things that I think we can all have tolerance over. Does it really matter what teams us five support? In fact, the only reason it matters is, right, who do you support? Great. Bit of banter when it goes wrong. That's it. That's all it used to be at school. You come into school, and if India lost at cricket, anyone who supported India we'd laugh at.
Yeah.
If England lost, same thing. It was, and some people were really unlucky. Some people like, I support both. And if they both lost, you got it with two barrels. I think we just got, honestly, the 90s just felt so much better to me. And I was a kid, but the 90s just felt so much better than now, I'll tell you.
I did all growing up, because obviously I am that. Like, my parents are both Italian, right? Well, my dad's Sicilian, my mum's Italian. I was born here. And I always speak to and even when I speak to my friends, we would all say, "Oh, what would you do if?" I always got asked, "What would you do if you become a pro footballer and you had to choose a country?" And I said, like, I'm kind of damned if I do, damned if I don't, because, like, to be honest, culturally, I probably would fit in better with the England team because I've grown up here, and the way I see things is like how. Or is English, so I'd probably fit in better. But then I'd be Giuseppe Di Giovanna playing for England with his shirt name saying Di Giovanna, and I'd be some foreign guy playing for England, and that's how I'd get perceived by everyone. But I had it at school when Italy in 06, when Italy won I was in primary school, we won the World Cup. I remember, like, I was supporting, like, both teams. I was going to watch all the England games. I was like, and everyone was like, "What are you doing if they play each other?" And I was kind of like, well, I kind of will probably be siding with Italy, because in my house, my dad's always Italy, and that's how I grew up. And like, my mates are laughing and going, "Oh, yeah, because they're a better team right now." And then when England went out, I remember speaking about it in class to one of my friends, and a teacher said to me, "You're not allowed to speak about the football anymore because we're out." I said, "But I support Italy as well." And then she goes, like, no. This was an old teacher. She was old at the time as well. She was like, "No, we don't speak about it because England are out now." So I've always sort of had that. And I always got the banter from everyone. When Italy went out in the groups, when I remember the year where Italy and England were in the same group, and we both went out. And I was getting, and everyone was like, "You've got two shit teams." And this was my mates from England and Italy.
And that's how it should be. It should just be about fun. It really, it's sport. It's meant to bring us together. It isn't. I know that it intrudes sometimes, but not by fans. It isn't politics. And it just bothered me listening to it this morning. And I was looking at clips, just thinking, this is just vile. It is, as far as I'm concerned. But there we go. Comment here says, Simon Jordan, proof you don't have to be a genius to be rich. This is random, but it says, remember Adebayor running half of the field to taunt Arsenal fans? Well, yeah. This is the thing. I mean, can you imagine if he did that? Would that make Declan Rice more English if he did it? It's crazy. It's
that would have been funny though.
No, it's true.
Neville did it to Liverpool fans as well. I remember that.
I don't know if you guys have seen Moussa Diaby. I think he scored for France, like under 21s. I think it was against Mali, and he's from Mali descent, and he scored a penalty, and he did the most outrageous celebration. He took off the shirt, everything, just started running. That's maybe Declan Rice did that. That would have been the whole other end of the spectrum. So
yeah, or maybe Rice should have done what Souness did, gone and got an England flag and stuck it in the centre circle. Do you know what I mean? It's these things. It's like, no, and whatever I'm telling you now, whatever he would have done, certain media outlets and people that don't like him, or people that just want to shit on Arsenal or shit on England or whatever your agenda is, they would have gone for him. Regardless of what happened, they'd have gone for him. And it's just, they wait and see. And you always know this because you sometimes speak to these people and you are, what should we do in this situation? They don't even give answers anymore. They go, well, wait and see what happens, and I'll answer it. What you mean is you're going to wait to see what happens, find out an angle to be angry, so you can be angry. They don't even like to answer these questions anymore. But look, people, I want to thank everybody for tuning into the show today. Please hit the like button before you leave. If you haven't, I know the numbers have been crazy today, up and down every 5 minutes, but loads of people have hit the like button, which is amazing. Please make sure you've subscribed as well and join the notification group chat, that QR code, if you haven't done so already. We're back tomorrow with more content, including straight facts and an England match reaction as well. So we're very excited about that. And then hopefully when Wednesday, Thursday come, we start building up the Premier League. I hate international week. It's so jarring. So yes, we're getting close. We're getting close to the proper football talk coming back as well. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.